Hello Universe, Josh here. Hello Scientific Discussion. This is a response specifically to you, your latest, another perspective on our language discussion. And I just wanted to say I agree with you on the pragmatism issue, and I think this is probably the path I would also go down with regard to discovering meaning in language, and that language isn't necessarily meant just to convey information, which would be meaningless in itself, but to convey a desire or a demand for action. And the action taken as a result of speech can be a wide variety of different things. For example, one might react one way, one might react another way, or one might not react at all, which would be a reaction in itself as far as the actual speech is concerned. And I think that's the way that humans are designed, and that's the way we use language, is that even a non-response counts as a kind of response in language. And that makes language a very powerful tool, because as soon as you make that speech action, as soon as you make your intention clear and you've acted, there's no taking that back. And there's no pretending it didn't happen, because it did. Also wanted to say that, yeah, language isn't necessarily just a kind of, you leave it and, so maybe you just throw it out there and then maybe someone will pick it up, maybe they won't. I mean, that's sometimes how it feels with YouTube, for example. I don't know, did you see the movie V for Vendetta? It's also a graphic novel, where the antagonist, V, I guess, has left a series of notes regarding his struggle for the girl. I didn't watch this lately, but basically it's a prisoner writing down his or her experiences, and they're kind of leaving it without much context and just kind of wrapping it up, not even expecting whether anybody is going to ever be able to read it again, and then stuffing it away in a hole between the bricks in the prison cell. And then the next prisoner comes along and finds these secret notes, these hidden notes, which the first prisoner presumably never thought that another person would ever see, but had to do that for their own sanity. And that of course it turns out in the end that I think V just made it all up and just was messing with her head. But I think that says something interesting about language, in that you can have this almost contextless, like you're communicating, you're making a speech act, but you don't know if it's going to have any effect at all, or if it's just going to be poof, gone, like nobody's ever going to see it again, nobody's ever going to stay in that cell or find your thoughts in your journal, basically. And then when somebody does find it, it does have an effect. And I guess what it ends up doing is it empowers her to be able to endure to the end of her torture or whatever was happening to her. So my point is that language isn't necessarily that. Language isn't necessarily just, I leave this here, because that's a strange situation. I just leave this here and I hope somebody picks it up. Language is generally intended in the moment to create a response, just as often this YouTube videos are. Even though often YouTube videos are just kind of pushed out into the universe at large, as I always begin my YouTube videos with "Hello Universe," because I don't know who could be watching. I would wonder, though, if, perhaps, focusing too much on the action of speaking and not the words and the meaning and the structure of the language, I wonder whether there's a danger there of becoming too postmodernist and becoming too airy-fairy, and that can't really tell what is meant. I'm not saying exactly what I think on this issue, because it's still just a vague idea in my mind. So that's not exactly what I think, but I hope to give you the sense that I'm a little suspicious of the speech-action combination, the fact that speech is an action and maybe doesn't even constitute its own speech. Well, I do think that all speech does constitute speech, though it may also constitute actions and require reaction and demand a reaction of some kind, of any kind. I wanted to make a request of you, if possible, and that is when you reference like a text or an author or something, in this case anyways, I wasn't able to quite catch the names. I think it might have been due to your accent, or I haven't listened to it more than once, so maybe if I listen to it again more carefully I can get it, but I just didn't quite catch the names of the authors that you're referring to, and I would very much like to follow up on that. And I guess that's all I have to say about that for now.